Welcome. This is a map created for the Western Youth Network in partnership with Appalachian State University, Department of Geography and Planning. It is focusing on the Community Behavioral Health Integration Initiative, or CBHII, which is looking at the health of Watauga County. The data in this map is Census Bureau American Community Survey data from 2017, looking at the social determinants of health for Watauga County, as well as community resource location data from MapCorps, FoodWeb data from the Watauga Food Council, and transportation data from AppleCart. This first pop-up is an information screen and a direction screen. It gives you some information of the data, as well as how to use this map, which is what I'm going to go over right now. If you scroll through, one of the first things you're going to see is an image of the different button functions. And these are the options that are available in the top left. If you continue scrolling, you'll see instructions with some images, and these explain how to use the map with some different examples. And at the very bottom is a link to a video tutorial, as well as where these instructions can be found within the map. When you're done with this screen, just click Close. The first thing that you're going to do is go to the top left and select the second option, the Layers option, and this is where the data is at. From here, the first thing you see are the different AppleCart routes, and the AppleCart routes are point location data. So you just select the box to the left to select the item. And to know what the different colors represent, you can select this arrow to the right, and it shows you that this wellness district is symbolized by this yellow circle. And to collapse this, you just select the arrow again. Or you can go to this first option, the legend option. And here it lists the different routes and the colors that represent them. And to see what they all are, you just scroll in the screen. These point locations, when you select them, they also have a pop-up, and it'll give you information on that route. And for AppleCart, it'll tell you where the stop is. With these point locations, it's better to unselect them when you're done examining them, because if you select too many, it might get confusing. Community resource data is the MapCorps data. And with these point locations, they also have the pop-up as well. So if you select the point, it'll give you information of what the business or office is, as well as the address location. And you can unselect those. And for those points as well, if you want to know what the different colors represent, you can select this arrow and it'll list them. Or you can go to this first option, the legend option, and it'll list them there as well. The next data layer is the social determinants of health. And so you can select these, and you can see the different patterns within the community based on these different options. So this one's looking at population working more than 35 hours. And again, you can select the arrow, and it shows that this darker color represents people, the population of 39.4% to 41.8% is working more than 35 hours. You can go to the legend option to see those numbers again. You can also select these different census tracts, which census tracts are just the way that the census divided the county up. So these little subsections are census tracts. And you can select those and a pop-up will come up and it'll give you the title of the social determinants of health variable that you selected. For this one, it's total population working 35 or more hours per week. It'll give you the percentage for this specific census tract, as well as a total population number just for a reference. So you can just click around these different tracts. This one has 34.17%. This census tract has 31.33%. And just by examining these different options, you can understand the different patterns in the community. One of the things that's most important with the social determinants of health variable specifically is that these layers are stacked, which means if you select one option and you select one above it, the one on bottom will not show unless you unselect the one on top. So for instance, the ones that are selected right now are both occupied housing that has complete kitchen facilities and rented occupied housing with kitchen facilities. And the renter occupied housing will not show unless I unselect the occupied housing option. The other thing that you can do is you can combine these different layer options. So you can have a social determinants of health data layer option, and you can combine it with some point locations. For instance, this is households without a vehicle. And then you can select the different Apple Cart routes to show how those transportation routes compare to where households do not have vehicle access. And you can see patterns within the community. So if you select the different Apple Cart routes, you see that they all center around Boone. And if you zoom in, you see how some of those do overlap in the census tracts that do have the highest percentage. But in comparison with the rest of the county, there are still some areas that are experiencing high rates without vehicles that are not being serviced by Apple Cart. So you can go to the legend option, and here's the Apple Cart routes. And you can also see what the colors of the social determinants of health variable represent. So for instance, if we select this track, a pop-up will come up saying that this census tract has 8% of households without a vehicle. And here's a total number of households compared to this census tract that has 4%. This one has 2%. So you can just see different patterns within the community. I'm going to unselect these Apple Cart routes. I'm going to choose a different social determinants of health variable. For instance, here's one about education, population with a 9th to 12th grade education without a diploma. So I'm going to select that one. And we can also combine childcare and schools, and we can see where the different patterns are. And if it helps, there's also an opacity function. And here you can change the transparency. Change the transparency of the points. You can also do it with the social determinants of health layer itself. I'm going to unselect the other one so that way this education one is more visible. So if we go to the legend option, we can see the different percentages. We can see that here in the middle where Boone is, percentage of the population without a diploma is 3.37%. Compared to this census tract right here outside of Boone, which has 5.5%. You can select the different points and see what the different schools are. Here's Appalachian State. This blue one's Watauga High School. You can just see the different options that are within the county compared to the rate of the population. So 6.13% outside here of Vilas does not have a diploma. And there's only a few school options. So here's something connected to ASU. And with the pop-ups, if it ever says one of three, it means that there's more than one thing selected. So if you zoom in, you can see that there was more than one point, and it recognized that when you were zoomed out and selected it. So then you can just click this arrow, and it'll go through the different points that were also selected. And it includes the census tract with it as well. So in this track, we have a couple locations associated with ASU, and then we have the one elementary school. So I'm going to go back to the layers. I'm going to unselect the social determinants of health and unselect the community resource. Another thing that you can look at is with the food web data at the areas where there are hunger relief. So this includes pantries and soup kitchens, summer backpack and feeding programs within the county. And you can combine that with the social determinants of health variable, looking at households receiving food stamps or SNAP. Because these layers are stacked, you can select the point location and then the social determinants of health, because the social determinants of health variables will always be on the bottom. So here we can see the different distribution of households receiving food stamps. We can go to the legend option and see that this darkest brown is associated with the highest percentages. So this track right here outside of Boone, 14% of households rather are receiving food stamps. And if we zoom in, we can see that there's an option here, food pantry from a church, another food pantry option. Here's some more in Boone. So you can just see where they're located in reference to the areas that have the highest percentages. This shows that there are most areas that are not being represented with the food pantries. Here's one out here, church food pantry. And additionally, like with the other example, when you select more than one point, it shows up with one or two. If you select a point within the census tract, it also will show up that it has the option with the census tract and the point. So you can select a point and it'll recognize the census tract and you can get that information with it as well. These other options in the top left, the third option is the base map option. So here's where you can change the background map. It's just up to your preference what you would like to see. So here's a satellite imagery option. Imagery with labels. This light gray canvas is the default option. Here are just some different background maps that you can choose from. This fourth option is the overview map, and it just gives you an idea of where you are in the state and the surrounding states. And so it's showing Watauga County in reference to this darker gray box. And here it's showing Tennessee and the rest of North Carolina. And if you move the gray box, it'll move the map as well. The next option is the details option, which has the information that was in the first pop-up screen window. It has information on the data, the options at the top, and some brief description instructions. Next, you have the share option. If you select this option with the clipboard, it'll say copied, and then that way you can paste the link into whatever platform that you're going to share it in. If this box is selected, it'll share what you have selected. Here's a print option. And on the far left, you have your zoom in and zoom out options, or you can use your scroll. The home is the default zoom, and this bottom option is to show your location. You can select that, and it'll show where you are in reference to Watauga County. This map is here for you to explore the different options. So feel free to click different things and explore the patterns that are here. All the information is in here. You can't delete it. You can't mess it up. So feel free to click around and select and see what patterns are within Watauga County.